So you're thinking about moving to Mooresville, North Carolina. Maybe you've seen it in the news lately, or you were checking out the map and noticed there's this cute little town north of Charlotte. Well, in this video, I'm going to take you through all the great stuff about Mooresville and all the not so great stuff so you can make your educated decision on whether Mooresville is right for you. Now, stick to the very end because I have a bonus feature of Mooresville that you may not expect that you'll probably want to hear because it can definitely drastically affect your decision to make the move. Now, if you're looking for everything Charlotte, North Carolina, the good, the bad, everything in between, including South Carolina, you've come to the right channel. Be sure to like and subscribe below to stay up to date on everything coming your way, even the things you didn't know you needed to know. Now, honestly, I get calls, texts, emails, Zoom invites from people just like you every single day. In fact, I got 2 just this morning from some amazing families moving to the area. If that is you, go ahead and check the description below. All my contact information is there. I would love to jump on a call with you and help you make the move, whether it's 9 days or 90 days from now. If you're moving across the world, across the country, or just across town. Shout out to London. If that's the case, get all my information in the description below, and I look forward to making your move exactly what you want it to be. Now let's dive in because I have a lot to cover in this video, and I want to educate you on everything Mooresville. Now, Mooresville has been hitting the headlines across the country over and over. Why? It is one of the best towns in the United States to make the move and live. And I'm going to cover all the reasons why it might be the best move for you, or maybe you want to look somewhere else. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the cost of living, and this comes in as a pro. Now, the cost of living in Mooresville is about 1.4% less than the US average. Now, I know 1.4 does not sound like much, but when we're looking at inflation, probably nearing 20%, and we're trying to make our dollars stretch, every little bit counts. Now, the coolest thing about Mooresville is you still get your location, which means you're close to Charlotte, close to other cities, but you're saving money. Now, when we're looking at where the cost of living is lower, it's going to be things like utilities, groceries, transportation, and miscellaneous other items. Now, I will say, however, the healthcare as well as housing are both higher than the US average. Now, in general, North Carolina's healthcare does run higher than many other states. Now, I can go into a whole other video about why that might be the case when it comes to healthcare being more expensive, but one thing I can tell you is as long as you have healthcare coverage, it's not something you truly have to worry too much about, especially if you're covered. But if you're not covered with insurance, it may be something to consider. And Mooresville sits at 118 while the US average is at 100. So take it into consideration, but the cost of living overall is lower, and that makes it a win. So this leads us into our next point, and it's talking about home costs. Now, this comes in under cons. Now, remember we were talking about cost of living. Home prices are one of the things that it's actually higher on. The typical median home sales price is at $430 as of 2024. And on average in the US, the median home sales price is at $412. Now, this is also still higher than the median in North Carolina. The North Carolina median sales price for a home is at $382,000. So what does this tell us? Well, one thing to keep in mind about Mooresville, it is Race City, USA. I'm going to mention that more than once. But you have over 60 racing teams that are actually housed and operate out of Mooresville. Now, of course, racing isn't the only industry in Mooresville, but it is a location where you have a culmination of very large luxury homes in and throughout that town. What that means is, yes, the averages and medians are going to be higher when we're talking about sales price, but New York Post just rated Mooresville as the #2 fastest growing town in the United States with houses under 500,000, meaning you can find an affordable home in the Mooresville area, but you also have the opportunity to find a magnificent luxury home in the millions if you choose to. Next on the list are school ratings. Now, schools are extremely important, especially if you've got kiddos or thinking about having kiddos, and even for resale. So when we're looking at schools, Mooresville has some phenomenal schools, public schools, private schools, and charter. But on this video, we're going to focus on the ratings for the public schools. Now, the ratings for public school do vary from 7 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 ratings, and the top schools that I'm going to mention are only 3 of them. Best elementary school, Lake Norman Elementary. Best middle school, Brawley Middle. And best high school, Lake Norman High. Now, all of these are public schools. Of course, you have to be in the area where that district is in order to get into these schools. But the nice thing is, just about anywhere you go in Mooresville, you have the opportunity for a great education. Now, if you're not too keen on the public school system, that's totally fine. You can also apply for charter schools. I have friends, family, and clients who have all applied and sent their children through their entire education through charter schools. So yes, they are available. Yes, it is doable, and you can apply when you move into the area. Now, there are also options for private schools. Now, of course, these do not sit in districts, so you can choose which one you'd like your child to go to, and the prices per semester and per year vary. All these schools will require an entrance exam in order to get in, but if your student is where they should be, there should be no problem in making it happen. Now, let's talk a little bit about the job growth. As I mentioned earlier, Mooresville is known as Race City, USA, with over 60 companies having to do with racing, NASCAR, you name it, in that town. And in fact, they have some of the coolest houses you've ever seen. So if you're ever going down the street and you see these houses that have these giant garage doors, sometimes 2, 3, or 4, but it looks like a normal house in the front, that's because that's where they're putting all of their trailers. Yes, these homes were specifically built for the racing industry. It's so cool. But back to what's going on with the job market and the economy. The surprising thing, especially compared to many of the other towns in and around Charlotte, is that the job growth in Mooresville has actually declined over the last year. Jobs have decreased at over 5.6%, which is outpacing the national average. Now, although the job market has declined, we have seen an increase in population in the Mooresville area. What this is telling us is there's a large expansion out from Charlotte, where people are moving further out of the city and into other desirable towns, Mooresville being one of them. As this expansion continues, more businesses are going to flock to the Mooresville area, especially with the availability of land and the thoroughfare of I-77 right there. Mooresville is setting up the stage to be quite a powerhouse outside of Charlotte. Another thing to keep in mind, although the job market specifically in Mooresville has declined over the last year, many of the individuals who live in Mooresville commute into Charlotte to work or work remotely. So don't take that as the economy is bad. In fact, restaurants, entertainment, hospitality have been on the rise. Let's talk about another positive, homes and sprawl. Now, as I just talked about a little while ago, there's been a lot of expansion from those who are in Charlotte moving further north. In fact, good friends of ours just moved away from living almost in the heart of Charlotte all the way up to Mooresville. Now, while it seems like it might be a distance, it's really not that bad. And you can get way more bang for your buck. In fact, what you would pay for a small home just south of uptown Charlotte, you could perhaps buy a 3,500 square foot, 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath home on a half acre in Mooresville. Yes, it's that drastic. While there's resale homes available in various price ranges, as we talked about a little bit earlier, you're also going to find a large expansion of new construction. New construction has taken over, well, not really taken over, but has found a lot of opportunity in the Mooresville area. Now, part of this is because the affordability. Land is more affordable, which means they can build homes that are more affordable for those that are looking. And this really does come right along with the New York Post stating it's the #2 town in the United States with homes under $500,000. Many of these builders are building within the $400,000 to $600,000 price range, but the focus tends to be under $500,000, meaning there's a lot of opportunity and options for you to buy a new construction home. In fact, one of the builders in North Mooresville even has basement lots with homes over 3,500 square feet, offering 5 beds, 4 full bathrooms on a beautiful lot for under $500,000. It's quite incredible, and if you have interest in new construction, be sure to give me a call. I'd love to help you map out what might be best for you. Now, while some people might find that having a sprawl, meaning people moving into the area, as a con, here's why it's a pro. One, it's going to bring higher values to your property. That's right, as people are moving into the area and demand increases for homes, you're going to see more builders and higher prices that are starting to creep up. Now, this isn't going to be something that's crazy like 2020 and 2021 where we saw 20% increases. each year, year over year. In fact, we're seeing steady growth, which is what we're looking for, of about 6.5% year over year. So if you're looking for the opportunity to find a home that's affordable and you can gain equity in your home, this may be the perfect place for you. So let's hop into a con of Mooresville. Everywhere has it, and I'm going to talk about it. Crime rates. Everyone wants a safe place to live. And by telling you these stats, I don't mean to scare you, because every city has crime. Literally every city. But I want to give you the numbers so you can make the correct decision for you and your family. Now, as Mooresville has grown, remember this is a small town in North Carolina, as it has begun to grow and expand, we have seen an increase in violent crime and property crime. Now, violent crime is still lower than the US average, sitting at 19.1, whereas the US average is 22.7. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Property crime has increased. This means things like burglary and theft, and it's gone up to 49.2. Now, this is actually higher than the US average at 35.4. Now, violent crime is certainly something that's going to affect you and your person, and you're still less likely to be a victim of a violent crime in Mooresville than you are in most of the average of the rest of the US. In fact, still lesser than Charlotte. As we've seen the increase in property crime, I will say that it is not widespread, and there are particular areas where we've seen these heavier increases. I recommend taking a look at niche.com and taking a look at Mooresville so you can check out the crime map and see exactly where these areas are more affected. Now, in most cases, it's where it's more densely populated. You're going to usually see higher rates of crime. With all of these stats, though, the police department and the town are already all over it. And in fact, they're increasing the police force, expanding on the infrastructure, and preparing for more growth to make sure they can not only keep crimes down, but make sure they keep it a safe place for everyone that calls it home. Now, the next positive is the town itself. I am a personal fan of Mooresville. It's one of those towns where you can feel you could just walk down the downtown streets, get some ice cream, a little soda from the soda shop, or a beer, go enjoy a restaurant, and just take in the town. It's one of the few North Carolina towns that not only kept its quirks and quaintness, but also brought it in today to bring businesses, restaurants, and the arts to those that truly want it in a modern feel. In fact, they converted the old train station into an art gallery. The arts are a big piece of the Mooresville area, especially downtown. You'll find galleries, they have events where you'll see vendors out in the street. It's actually someplace you'd want to go visit. And if you already live there, it's even better. Not only do they have galleries, but they'll also host farmers markets, festivals, and other events throughout the year and nearby. That there's never a day that there's not something to do. As everything around Mooresville has changed, it's grown and changed as well, but it's kept that spark that makes it unique. Now here's one more con: the traffic. The traffic. If you are someone that's commuting from uptown Charlotte or in that area up I-77 into Mooresville every single day, hear me out. There is quite a bit of traffic on I-77 between Huntersville up into Mooresville. Now, this is the exact reason why a toll lane was installed, an optional toll lane, to allow for 2 toll lanes and 2 non-toll lanes to help traffic flow up and through the Mooresville area. So, what can you expect? Well, during high traffic periods, rush hour, you can expect a 35-minute commute time to uptown Charlotte if you use the toll lane. Now, if you're not using the toll lane, you can expect sometimes an hour. Now, that depends upon where exactly you're going in Mooresville, as it is quite broad, east to west. Now, the cost for the toll lane varies, and it goes by peak hours, whether there's accidents and delays, and it can vary. You can always check it on the billboards or keep up to date online to see where the tolls are at. If you plan on taking the toll road on a daily basis, however, it could be $20 each way. I know, that is quite a bit. But if you plan ahead and you leave at non-peak hours, you can certainly get around it. Now, another thing to keep in mind is there are other routes to get to Mooresville aside from I-77. If you're coming from Kannapolis, you can shoot up northwest. If you're coming out from Denver, you can pop up over the Lake Norman area, and you can even take Old Statesville Road all the way up. There's always multiple ways to get anywhere in the Charlotte and surrounding towns. But keep in mind, I-77 may be a challenge if you're commuting on a daily basis. Now, you stuck around to the very end, and here is my last caveat, my bonus to you if you're thinking about moving to Mooresville. And it's something I need to warn you about. If you're not used to Southern hospitality, you are gonna be in shock. Southern hospitality is a real thing in Mooresville and in many of the surrounding towns around Charlotte. I told you Mooresville kept its old vibe at a new school. Well, that has to do with them being not only friendly, kind-hearted, but you're gonna actually have people talking to you randomly on the street. That's right, shout out to those from California or coming from California or New York, maybe in Atlanta or Florida. People will strike you up in conversation, whether you're at the checkout counter at the grocery store or you're just walking down the street. This is something that is normal. And yes, they really just want to say hi. So if you don't want to talk to people and you want to go into your little hole, this may not be the town for you, because you will actually make friends and you'll find you're smiling a whole heck of a lot more than you ever expected. In a nutshell, Mooresville is one of the most beautiful towns and one of the best towns that you could possibly move to if you're looking to move to the Charlotte area. Every town has its pros and cons, and now you know the best and the worst things about Mooresville before making a decision to make the move. Now, if you've got comments, questions, drop them in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Do you live in Mooresville? Have you thought about moving here? Let me answer your questions. And of course, if you want to keep learning about Charlotte, North Carolina and South Carolina, be sure to click the like and subscribe button to stay up to date on everything Charlotte. And I really do get calls, texts, emails, Zoom invites from people just like you looking to make the move to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So if that's you, all my information is in the description below, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days from now, across the world, across the country, or just across town. We're here to make your move everything you want it to be. Until next time, I look forward to showing you around town. Move. There's a lot of videos that you can be watching, like this one right here, or maybe even this one. Really either one of these, but honestly, watch both of them because they're going to help you make the move. Go ahead, pick one. They're both really good.